the flooding. But in this case, for a tropical storm or a hurricane, when we issue a watch, it means the conditions that are associated with the storm or the hurricane are possible within a certain time frame. If you hear tropical storm or hurricane watch, you could get the impact of that system within a day and a half, 36 hours. If we mention that this is a tropical storm or a hurricane warning, it means that you only have 1 day before that thing can affect you. So we are moving to how quickly you need to make sure that you are prepared by naming it a watch or a warning. So the watch is the first level of the alert that there is something that is likely to affect you. But when we move to a warning, it means now is the time to batten down because you most likely are going to experience that storm or hurricane. We might have a tropical wave, which is the least of them, in that it can still cause a lot of rain and it can still cause flooding and devastation, but it will not have very strong winds associated with it. But then there is the
move across the island and then move across the southeastern Cuba on Wednesday morning. The maximum sustained winds are 175 miles per hour. Melissa is a Category 5 hurricane and is expected to reach Jamaica as an extremely dangerous and major hurricane. It will still be at hurricane strength when it moves across the southeastern Bahamas after it leaves Jamaica. The hurricane force winds extend outwards up to 30 miles from the center, and tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 195 miles. The Norman Manley International Airport in Kingston recently reported a sustained wind of 43 miles per hour and gusts of 58 miles per hour. At the Sangster International Airport in Montego Bay, it sustained winds of 38 miles per hour and gusts of 54 miles per hour. So those are nowhere near the 175 hurricane force winds which this storm is packing. So we're getting the little edge of the outer bands before it comes ashore and we're starting to feel the real deal. I know for some persons, particularly in the south, in St. Elizabeth, Manchester, the situation there is much more intense. The winds are fiercer and more powerful than, say, someone in St. Anne or even in the corporate area are experiencing. But we're all going to be getting much more intense weather in the next few hours. The Doppler radar and satellite images show that the outer bands of Melissa cover most of Jamaica and have been producing moderate to heavy rainfall over the island Data from the weather station network indicate amounts exceeding 4 inches in parts of southern parishes. Remember, the Met Office did say that they believe we could have up to 30 inches of rainfall in this storm. Catastrophic hurricane force wind conditions are currently occurring across the southern and western sections of Jamaica and are expected to spread across most of the island later today. We're going to go now to one of our reporters, Ramada Lyons, who is in Manchester.
Thanks, Milton. So it's very, very wild here in Mandeville, Manchester. The rain Monday night, it hasn't stopped, but yesterday, Monday night, that's when things got pretty intense. And the wind, very powerful, very strong, very loud. Last night, it was a lot of noise. I can assure you that the property we're staying at, nobody had a good night's rest. A lot of board clamoring, just a lot of noise. I had a little scare last night. I had to change rooms because there was a slight leak in that room. When we went back to that room this morning, a part of the ceiling collapsed, so danger averted. We heard some reports from a few residents in Alligator Pond, where we would have visited Monday, and they were hell-bent that they weren't going to leave. When we spoke to those residents just now, they're saying that they're trapped with roads flooded. So I'm not sure how it's going to work out for them, but we'll remain on the ground, continuing to get updates. There's nobody on the roadways, which is a good thing because that means that people are staying indoors. So as soon as it's possible, I'll get back to you with another update. Sorry, it's back to you, studio.
Okay, Ramada Lyons there for us in Manchester. And speaking about the harrowing night that the people were in that hotel had with, as you saw, part of his ceiling and roof caved in, and they had to shift him to another room in the hotel, and that's in Mandeville. And of course, folks, that was before the hurricane, or it's before the hurricane made landfall. We're gonna show you now some really interesting people. We saw this surfer, or we got some video of somebody who is surfing in Negril, I believe it is, and this is this morning. It's in Westmoreland, sorry, not Negril. And you can see the trees swaying pretty violently in the wind, and that gentleman is out there surfing. It's quite a scene. Yes. So just let me just finish up one thing. The Met Office also says there will be life-threatening storm surges accompanied by large and destructive waves. This is likely along the south coast on today, peaking at 9 to 13 feet above ground level and to the east of where the center of Melissa makes landfall. On the northwestern coast, there's also the possibility of 1 to 2 foot storm surges above ground level. And of course, don't need to remind fishers that they should remain in port, and don't think it'd be safe to go till perhaps Thursday or Friday, but the Met Office will certainly advise when it would be safe to do so. So folks, we've not really started to see the real deal yet, so stay indoors, continue to obey the warnings, stay off the streets. It's not safe to be out there, particularly if you're in the south. You can just wait a few more hours or a day or two to go out and look and explore your curiosity. But please, this is serious, right? And if you're in somewhere and you know it's not safe, on a gully bank or somewhere, please, you should really be in a shelter, right? Okay, so we're standing by to join our reporter in St. Anne to give us a sense of what's happening there. We're just trying to get that feed up. Yes, so let me go to Sandy Williams, who is in St. Anne. Sandy?
Good morning, Milton, and good morning to our viewers. Well, what can I tell you? It rained right through the night into early this morning here in Ocho Rios, but there wasn't much wind activity in the town itself. So things are a bit calm right here. But once you head outside of Ocho Rios, especially from Salem going towards Discovery Bay and beyond, things are different. It's a very different picture. The winds out there are extremely strong, and while the rain isn't heavy, it's persistent and steady. Now the shift in the conditions on that section, or in that section of the parish, is no surprise given the track that Hurricane Melissa is expected to take. Now the system's outer bands are brushing the northern sections of St. Anne more forcefully, and so communities along that stretch of road definitely will be feeling stronger effects. Yesterday we visited Cave Valley, which is located close to the boundary of St. Anne and Manchester, and already they were feeling the effects of the outer bands of Hurricane Melissa, strong winds, persistent rains. So today we will be continuing to monitor Hurricane Melissa along the Salem to Discovery Bay section of the parish, where it is expected that flooding may occur, especially in Cave Valley, which is a flood-prone community. So we'll be monitoring those areas and provide updates in subsequent newscasts. It's back to you in studio.
Okay, Sandy Williams reporting live from Ocho Rios. Just want to give you some advice from the Jamaica Public Service. They said if your lights start to chip in and out, it's time to plug out those appliances. Flickering lights can lead to power surges and damage appliances. Unplug your sensitive stuff, computers, TVs, etc. If the flickering won't stop, safely turn off your main breaker. That's a message from the JPS, because I do know a lot of customers are experiencing flickering lights and power going on and off. We're gonna look now at the live camera in the Kingston Harbour. Clearer this morning. Yesterday afternoon it had deteriorated pretty badly. We couldn't see anything. We can now see the buildings on shore. The sea is pretty rough, choppy seas there. Certainly see the, I think that's the ROK Hotel, the Rock Hotel, and the Ocean Towers, and then the Office Center building to the left. And this, I think, is the situation more to the east. We're looking before you reach the Foreign Ministry building and the Jamaica Stock Exchange. I think this is more perhaps the Raytown area. Yes, that's the Foreign Ministry building there, and the Air Jamaica building to your left. Well, as you can see, the sea is very, very choppy there. Very, very, yeah. So we're monitoring the situation across the island. Things are starting to deteriorate, but it's not the worst yet. There's still much more to come, particularly when Melissa makes landfall later today. But we have to be very careful about protecting ourselves and our property. We're going to go to Flatbridge, the camera at Flatbridge, to show you what's happening there. As you know, communication is a little challenged at these times. The bridge appears to be submerged. Can't see the bridge. It's somewhere there. And the river, as we expected, and I did tell you yesterday that it will be fully covered when the river is in spate and as the storm approaches and gets closer to Jamaica. So expect that to be the situation over the next day or two, where you simply cannot see Flatbridge at all. The gorge, I believe it would be closed by now. They would have closed the gates to the entrance at Damed and in Bogwalk. Both gates would have been closed, and so it's because it's certainly not safe to be in the gorge at this time, because it's not only Flatbridge that would be submerged. Other parts of the gorge, the water would have come over from the river the river would have burst its banks and been flowing on the roadway. So it's absolutely no time to be in the gorge. And we've had experiences in the past where several motorists, driving through and think it's safe, and literally within minutes they were trapped. And I remember one year the JDF had to go and rescue a few people in the gorge who were trapped, and the waters were rising literally by the minute, and it was a very, very dangerous situation. But let's hope good sense prevails, and we all right, so these are the various cameras. The one in the top left, that's in I think halfway tree. Then you've got Kingston Harbour in the middle at the top, the flat bridge to the right in the top, and the one to the left at the bottom is the transport center, and Crossroads is in the middle, in the center, and then West Parade is in the bottom right corner. So pretty calm, apart from the Kingston Harbour and the Flat Bridge. Those are the worst, and of course that's simply because there's bodies of water involved. The harbour, we expect it to be very choppy and rough, and the Flat Bridge, we knew that the Rio Cobre would be in spate and would cover the bridge entirely, and it could get even higher and worse. There's a little, where the traffic light is by the bridge in the background there, the water levels could rise to about where that sign is, or even higher, because it's done that in the past, because we're going to get more rains, much more rains in the next day, over the next day or so. So you would expect the waters in the Rio Cobre to be swelled by those rains further up stream where the river originates. It's such a pity that we couldn't have a couple more reservoirs to just, secure all this water, because, we've had droughts in the past, but this year we've had a lot of rainfall, but it's difficult. This situation now is, I think, this is in St. Thomas, and the river is, I'm being told, I'm not sure if this is the Negro River, but this is St. Thomas, and as you can see, this river is in spate. Those persons in that house there must be a little concerned. It's not burst its banks yet, but it's still early days yet, so it could get even more intense. Yeah. Okay, we're going to take a quick break from our coverage, and when we come back, we'll have much more, and we will be going to the press conference at the Office of Disaster Preparedness at 9:30. Okay, welcome back to us here at TVJ for continuing coverage of the Hurricane Melissa. It's now a Category 5, and I do have some additional information which has just come in. The update is that the sustained winds are now 185 miles per hour, and the pressure is at 893 millibars. So the hurricane is strengthening as it approaches Jamaica, and it's expected to make landfall within the next 2 hours by about 11:30, thereabouts to midday. And as you can see on the map, it's coming directly to that western St. Elizabeth, eastern Westmoreland area that we told you earlier. It's the eye is clearly defined. It's a powerful storm. You see how far those winds and rain activity associated with a storm, how far it extends. And it's pretty serious, folks. So it's gonna get worse within the next few hours as it makes landfall. Just want to give you some comments from our viewers about what's happening in their area. The person said in Cambridge there's a river that's overflowing. Job Lane, a light post fell down, and the other one, right now Manchester done mash up with this old monster. How we gonna manage after this pass? God help us. We're gonna be angry, aggressive, tormented. And current situation in Westmoreland is very overcast and rain and wind. TVJ coming from Ochi, rain and little wind. This person is in the 3 miles area, and they're showing us some branches that have fallen down in their community. So we're getting a mix of comments in Longville Park. That was, I think, last night. There is some trying to make out the images that were sent. In Southfield, in St. Elizabeth, it's overcast and lots of wind. You can see the trees swaying. This person said Flatbridge looks impassable, and that's to be expected, as we showed you just now. And in this is in Gordontown. The river is in spate. It hasn't burst its bank yet. This is by Industry Village in Gordontown. Yes. So we're standing by for the press briefing. Okay. I'm told they're not quite ready for the press conference, but let's go to our reporter, Janella Precius, who was in the corporate area roving, and she visited a Grandspend Gully in St. Andrew.
We are currently in Grandspend. This is what the gully looks like now, and it is just a little before 8 a.m. and this is what it looks like now. From all indications, you can tell that the water is rising. Blue, let's walk over here. The water is rising here at the Grandspend Gully, and it is one of these places that people that motorists often use, but as we speak, it is not safe to do so. We met a gentleman from Grandspend. His name is Mr. Chin. Now, Mr. Chin, I saw you telling a motorist to turn back. Do you find that a lot of people are still trying to drive?
You have a lot of people try to pass through, think them can pass, but them cannot pass through. As the water is not normal right now at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. So you've been living in Grand Spend for how long?
For about 30 odd years.
30 odd years. Tell me what happens when, it becomes impossible here.
When it comes, nothing can pass, not even a trailer can pass, nothing. Anything come across, the water, the up here, sir. The water up on the roadside.
All the way up to there?
Yeah, right up there.
Okay, Blue, just show them where he says that the water goes up to.
on the
So it
roadside.
moves from there and it comes onto the roadside.
Yeah, way up on the road.
Now, we have a Category 5 hurricane that will make landfall in the coming hours. How do you feel about, what is likely to happen and pretty much,
I hope nothing not happen. We just have to give God thanks and hope for the best. Yeah.
Now, whole heap of people live on the gully bank.
Stand by.
Is our deputy chair of our National Disaster Risk Council. He's also our Minister of Local Government and Community Development. We also have Minister Darrell Vaz, our Minister of Energy, Telecoms and Transportation, who is extremely important at this time. With us, we also have the person everybody wants to hear from, Mr. Evan Thompson, who is the head of our meteorological office here in Jamaica. Many people have said that they look forward to these briefings so they know what is happening, and I thank you all for tuning in. I thank the members in the diaspora for also tuning in and helping us to get the message to your families back home in Jamaica. So this morning we're going to have a quick briefing, and so I'm going to start with Evan Thompson. I need to acknowledge some others who are in the room. I want to acknowledge the head of ODPEM, Mr. Richard Thompson, who is here, and also the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, Marsha Henry Martin, and they've all been here overnight. I also want to acknowledge the members of the media who are here. They have been here consistently with us. We want to thank them. They are here sleeping on cots. That's how committed they are to getting the news and the information to you, and I'm very grateful to them and thank them. I know it's difficult being away from your families, but know that we are grateful to you. Another person that I need to thank are the caterers. There are a lot of people here in the emergency center and they need to be fed. And I want to thank the mothers team that's working to provide food. They bring breakfast, lunch, and they try to bring dinner too. And everybody who is in the emergency center is fed. We cannot do this without them. So I just wanted to acknowledge them also. So let's get started with the man of the moment, Evan Thompson. Families, but know that we are grateful to you. Another are the caterers. There are a lot of people here in the emergency center and they need to be fed. And I want to thank the mothers team that's working. Evan Thompson.
Thank you very much, Minister. And the lady of the moment is Hurricane Melissa. And we'll be hearing a lot about Hurricane Melissa today because there has been no significant change in terms of the magnitude of this system, the strength of its winds. Our satellite imagery will just give you a good picture of what is really happening out there over the waters and even over the land, because Hurricane Melissa, a Category 5 hurricane, continues to barrel its way. Well, not barrel its way because it's still moving pretty slowly, but moving toward the southwestern coastline of Jamaica. We are starting to experience quite a few of the impacts of this system because we have been experiencing rainfall over much of the island, especially in the west and the south of the country. We've been having some periods of heavy rainfall, mostly moderate rainfall. There have also been gusts of wind and some sustained strong winds over sections of the island. The gusts, of course, going well into tropical storm force as we went through the night last night and as we have gone through this morning so far. We recognize that the system has not yet made landfall. The center is still some distance away from the coastline, just about 70 to 75 kilometers from the southwestern coastline, and it is still moving toward the north-northeast. So it is moving closer and closer to the coastline of Jamaica. I mentioned that it has been moving slowly, but it has been moving a little bit faster than it was previously, because it's now moving at 11 kilometers per hour. That's just about 7 miles per hour. And it is expected to make that turn to be more in a direction, moving in a direction toward the northeast, which is a slight shift toward the east, more so than it is going at this time. So it will continue to move toward the island, making its entry on the southwestern coastline. We do expect, let me move this slide forward a little bit so you can see and get an idea of where we're expecting it to move. First, let me just point to those circles that you're seeing on the image. Where the center is located, the inner, I refer to it as the inner core, which is that orange area that's surrounding it. And then you have the outer band, you know, of the greens that extend across the country, which is what most of us have been experiencing thus far. But the inner core that we speak of is that orange area that we expect to be making some impact on the island, and that's where the stronger winds are concentrated. Also, the heavier rainfall is in that general area. We did say that the system is a Category 5 hurricane at this time, and when it makes landfall, it is expected to still be a Category 5 hurricane. That means it will cause catastrophic damage, life-threatening damage. There is very little that can stop a Category 5 hurricane. And regardless of the where you are in the parish of Westmoreland or St. Elizabeth, if you are under the impact of those Category 5 hurricane force winds, you will be having significant difficulty even with infrastructure that's in the area. So ensure that you are in the strongest area that you can. The recommendation from the Hurricane Center is that you would have as many walls between yourself and the outside as you can, because it is important to reinforce yourself and to ensure that you are not left vulnerable to this system. We do expect that it will gradually be reduced in strength as it moves over the island. It will fall to a Category 4 maybe, and then Category 3 as it exits the country possibly. But in the meantime, when it makes landfall, which is expected, as you can see in this image here, to be somewhere near Parati in western St. Elizabeth, that's somewhat to the east of Black River. So it will most likely make landfall in the western part of St. Elizabeth rather than in the eastern part of Westmoreland. And then it will continue moving toward the northeast. That is the direction of movement that is expected. It will continue over the northern part of St. Elizabeth and then move into southern Trelawney. And the exit is expected to be somewhere in Trelawney rather than in St. Ann. It would be most likely in the eastern end of Trelawney rather than St. Ann, where it makes its exit from the island of Jamaica. Here we see the area, this area of orange shows the outer bands of the system, where we are expecting to be experiencing impacts. Heavy rainfall right across the length and breadth of Jamaica, also strong winds across the island. The amounts of rainfall that we expect, we see here again, we indicated that we would have between 20 and 30 inches or 500 to 750 millimeters of rainfall affecting sections of the island. The area that is expected to be impacted mostly has been narrowed a little bit on the map. So you'll see that Jamaica's central parishes are most at risk and extending into the west of the island as well. And then some slightly lower figures are expected for the rest of the island, but still significant rainfall. 12 to 16 inches, 300 to 400 millimeters is nothing to scoff at. It's still a lot of rainfall, still expected to produce significant flooding. You might be saying that this system doesn't seem to be packing much of a punch because what you've been experiencing outside doesn't seem to be worthy of all the hurrah that we're creating about the system. But the truth is, it is still some distance away from the coast, expected to move closer and then move across the island, and that means that the impacts are going to be significantly greater than you've already been experiencing. Flooding is expected, landslides are expected, storm surge is expected, and of course those strong winds we will not be able to escape, especially if you're in the path of this system and in the path close to the eye of the system. The rest of the island, I mentioned the Category 5 hurricane force winds that will be experienced over parts of St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland going into Trelawney, but we are expecting tropical storm force winds over the rest of the country. And so we all should be experiencing or looking out for the experience of tropical storm winds right across the island. Here we see on our picture some of the areas that are expected to be mostly inundated from storm surge that is also expected to come onshore, and this would be in those bays and inlets. In the area of Black River, we expect significant storm surge, although the center is now expected to be somewhat of Black River, so this might have to be updated slightly, but Black River will also experience storm surge. Storm surge could get as high as 13 feet. That's high. 13 feet is a couple of stories high. And so you need to be very much prepared for that kind of activity if you're in any of those bays or inlets along the coast of St. Elizabeth in particular, and even going into Clarendon. So those traditional areas of storm surge impact, like Portland Cottage, Rocky Point, those are areas that, because of the geography, we are expecting still to experience some amount of storm surge in those areas, although probably not as significant as we would have in St. Elizabeth along the coast. So anywhere, even along the coast of Manchester, parts of Alligator Pond and, Treasure Beach area should also be looking out for that kind of activity, and going eastward as far as parts of St. Catherine. And that is basically the presentation at this time. I'm sure you'll have some questions that will bring out some more information later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Evan. You heard it. It is strengthening and it is coming to Jamaica. I know we've been praying for it not to hit, but it is going to hit us. So we have to heed everything that Evan has just said. I'm going to ask if there are any questions for Evan before we go on to the others. Any member of the media? Okay, please go ahead. Do we have a mic, or you're just going to speak very loudly and I'll repeat it?
Sure. Good morning.
I think the mic is coming.
Good morning. Okay. Mike.
You can just speak and I'll repeat the question.
So, good morning, Jamaican Mission Service. Has the window now officially closed for Jamaicans to make preparations, especially on the western side of the country, considering the distance of the system from the coast?
Okay, so the question was, has the window now closed for those who need to make preparations, especially on the western side of the island?
We're very close. Thanks for the question, JIS. We are very close to the closing of that window. I mean, I would not actually say it's entirely closed, because there are a couple things that you might be able to do right outside your doors that could reinforce your structures. If that is a possibility, when we have some level of calm, I have been hearing from persons in St. Elizabeth, in Manchester, who have indicated that they are getting quite some heavy rainfall and some strong winds, but there are usually some lulls, some periods of semi-calm that they can probably do something quickly on the outside and get back inside. So we would like to ask everyone to ensure that you keep yourself safe. Exercise extreme caution if you have to do anything immediately outside. But of course, as the system moves any closer, we will start to experience the eye wall of the system moving onshore, and then the eye will make its impact. And we do expect that that will occur by midday today. So during the latter part of this morning, after 11 o'clock, I would say let's not take any chances on the outside. Let's make sure that we are on the inside, so as this system makes its way here, we're not destroyed ourselves. Apart from the structures outside, we have to make sure that we save our own lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Evan. We're going to now move to Minister Daryl Vaz, who is our Minister of Energy, Telecoms and Transportation.
Morning, Jamaica. Prayers up. Let's start with JPS, which I know is on everybody's mind. The electricity grid has already been impacted by hurricane conditions, which have caused several power outages across the island. Several generation units, critical high voltage substations, transmission and distribution lines across the island have been forced out of service by the hurricane force winds and lightning. As a result, approximately 240,000 or 35% of JPS customers are without power. That's out of a possible 700,000. Mainly in the parishes of St. Elizabeth, Manchester, St. James, and Hanover. The status generation, there's adequate firm generation online to serve our customers. No renewables are available. As I said before, customers impacted, more than 75% of the customers in St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Hanover, and St. James are affected without electricity. The least impacted parishes, with less than 10% of customers impacted, St. Thomas, Kingston, and St. Andrew, and St. Catherine. The majority of hospitals continue to be supplied with JPS power, except those in Manchester and St. Elizabeth, such as Black River, Mandeville, and Percy Junior Hospital. But I can confirm that they are operating on standby power, generator power. There is no plan at this point to shut down the grid. JPS crews continue to respond and restore critical facilities and customers where it is safe to do so. In the meantime, JPS is reminding customers to stay safe and take precautions to protect life and property. And most importantly, stay tuned to official channels of information, which include government and JPS, for further updates. As it relates to our telcos, I'll start with Digicel. 26% of mobile network is offline, predominantly due to the widespread loss of power. There's a further 209 sites running on generators and 9 on batteries. For fiber to home customers, we are seeing 20% customers offline due to no power in their homes. As we see the most impacted areas, we will work with our crews to focus on those areas first. Even if commercial power is still to be restored, we will keep generators fueled and gas the sites back to keep them up and running. They're also confirming that also in aid in recovery, we are working with the SMA to increase our spectrum bandwidth channels, as we know from our experience from Hurricane Beryl that the mobile infrastructure will be recovered much quicker than the fixed. So just to indicate that I, this morning at 3 o'clock, signed licenses for additional spectrum for Flow, Liberty Caribbean, and I'm awaiting Digicel to give them the same. For Flow, I'm happy to say that Liberty Caribbean, operators of Flow, Jamaica, and Liberty Business is committed to playing its part for Jamaica to recover quickly from the inevitable damage following the passage of Hurricane Melissa. Again, with the spectrum that they have received, they will be bringing a new innovation, mobile connectivity via satellite, and facilitates SMS and text messages to areas affected in the aftermath of the storm. So this partnership promises to seamlessly enable 4G LTE mobile customers to send texts to their family and friends, even when the local network services may be interrupted. So that's huge, very huge. And this collaboration with Starlink reflects a deep commitment to the Caribbean and protecting Jamaica. So we look forward for that. And we also look forward for Digicel to do the same, which will give us a lot more ability to communicate and to recover as quickly as possible. This one is the big important one now, and that is the airports. Based on my consultations with PACAL and the Jamaica Civil Aviation Authority, about the timeline for the Norman Manley International Airport to accommodate emergency relief flights after the passage of Hurricane Melissa. The assumption is that the system will leave Jamaica by the end of today, Tuesday, October 28th, and that the impact on the Norman Manley International Airport is not extensive. Both PACAL and JCA will use tomorrow, October 29th, to inspect and clean up the facility and restore the test equipment that have been decommissioned to accommodate flights. These emergency relief flights could therefore be accommodated as early as Thursday, October 30th, 2025. Again, we are not sure what's going to happen with Montego Bay, who will face at least a lower category, possibly category 3. So we aren't able to say anything on Sangster, but we know that it could have potential disabling impact for that airport. The good news is that the Ian Fleming International Airport is being considered as a part of contingency planning. So it means that we could get into Ian Fleming with certain types of aircrafts, and that will help us significantly based on the distance between Ian Fleming and Montego Bay. Petrojam, following another meeting this morning of the refinery, Petrojam is turning its attention to deepening participation in the broader national multi-agency response. Fuel security plays a key role, as we know, and Petrojam is assuring that all 3 international airports, in addition to all airdromes, are at 75 to 80% capacity for aviation fuel. This will enable aircraft movement to resume immediately. In addition, Petrojam has 2 to 3 weeks supply of aviation fuel at its Kingston and Montego Bay storage facilities. So in accordance with international standards, we will follow strict safe storage and rigorous testing prior to reopening. Jamaica Civil Aviation Authority, the microwave system is in general is operational, with the exception of the links between Winchester headquarters and Catherine Peak, which is currently offline. All remote sites are operating on generator power. So this means that we will be able to accommodate relief flights, which the requests are coming in fast and furious. And as I said before, we spoke about Airports Authority. Finally, I'll just give an update on JUTC. And that was up to 9 o'clock last night, reporting 361 persons that were taken to shelters in several parishes. All road operations for JUTC ceased last night, with the exception of transport assistance being provided to essential services staff, such as hospital workers. JUTC's emergency standby teams remain in place at all depots. We will have some kind of disruption to some of the buses, because those buses that use CNG will not be able to be fueled immediately due to the fact that the plant has been decommissioned. But let me close by saying, once again, that government, as you have heard and will hear from Minister Mackenzie, we are dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's to make sure that we facilitate all that is required for the response that is going to come in relation to the rebuilding phase after this catastrophic hurricane. So I want to just say to you, those of you who are still not taking it serious, you have but a few hours. And as I said before, based on what Evan said, the low-lying areas are going to be badly affected. Seek to go to higher ground and protect yourself and be smart. Again, commit to be here right through. And of course, if we work together, we will get through this once again. God bless Jamaica and keep safe.
Thank you very much, Minister Vaz. As you hear, we are not stopped We have not stopped working. He's not going to stop working to ensure that we have electricity and that we have telecom service. Right before this press briefing started, I heard him on the phone with JPS's head, and they were talking through how they were going to be making sure that we have electricity up in areas that aren't as badly affected, and then that we can recover even more quickly. He has not stopped working for us, and we have to obviously thank Starlink for that support that they're giving to our telecoms providers in Jamaica to ensure that even if our systems locally go down, that we will still be able to communicate internally and externally with the rest of the world. Also want to welcome the members of the media who are joining us from overseas. I know that the feed is going out also. We say good morning to you and good morning to all of your viewers out there too. Next up, we have Minister Desmond McKenzie, who is not just our Minister of Local Government and Community Development. He is the one that's coordinating the entire disaster response, wearing his hat as the Deputy Chair of our National Disaster Risk Council. The chair is the Prime Minister, who is very much behind the scenes coordinating all of this and calling all of us for updates. And so this morning you will hear directly from Minister McKenzie his updates on the entire disaster management framework.
Thank you, Minister Dixon. Again, let me commend you on the sterling job that you've been doing in presiding over these very important press briefing. Minister Vaz, Evan Thompson, my PS Director General acting, other support staff, and I want to acknowledge the team. The Jamaica Fire Brigade and the GADF was very active last night, responding to a number of calls to assist residents in sections of the corporate area. I want to, first of all, give an update on the state of shelters. Again, I want to repeat that all of the 800 and odd shelters are open. The numbers that I have presently speak to, of the 800 shelters, 382 shelters are occupied so far, with a total of persons within these shelters of almost 6,000 persons. Just to give you a rundown of the numbers in Kingston and St. Andrew, there are 45 shelters which are open with 581 persons. In Clarendon, 39 shelters with a accommodation of over 865 in Clarendon. Westmoreland, 33 shelters open with over 500 persons. St. Mary, 27 shelters with over 500 persons. St. Catherine, 27 shelters, 394 persons. Portmore, 8 shelters, 74 persons. St. Thomas, 18 shelters, 609 persons. Manchester, 23, 135. St. Anne, I see here 18 shelters open, but 0. There seems to be no one in any shelters in St. Anne. We'll check on those numbers. Hanover, 19 shelters are open with over 261 persons. St. James, 30 shelters, 209 persons. Trelawney, 10 shelters, 313. Portland, 59 shelters, 541. St. Elizabeth, 26 shelters, 289. Now, St. Elizabeth is of concern because I am understanding that we are getting calls before we came on here of persons in St. Elizabeth asking for transportation to be sent into various communities to transport persons out of those areas. As Minister Vaz have said, it is going to be difficult. I have given instructions to the ODPEM director and to the team to advise the disaster coordinators and the members of parliament and the mayors wherever transportation is needed and they can get those transportation, they should do everything that is possible to provide the transportation to take the people out. But the system that we have had, as Minister Vaz said, those systems have been put on hold now because of the closeness of the system. So I would urge persons who can move to do so, and the mayors and the CEOs and the councillors and the members of parliament to do everything that is possible to assist those persons in moving. The impact of Melissa is being felt. Evan gave full details. We are having reports of widespread impact across several parishes, which are seeing increased number of land slippage, flooding, fire, storm surge, and power outage. Roads in St. Thomas, Portland, and St. Catherine were blocked by fallen trees, poles, landslides, and most of these have been clear. And I want to make the point that the team that are on the road, the roving teams that have been pre-positioned, have been responding. Once the report is sent to the team, they are out there actually doing the work. So if you are in an area where there is blockage and fallen trees, you can send us the information, and once that is possible, we will send the team out. Minister Vaz, I see a report here, fire on JPS pole lines in certain sections. Storm surge affect Old Harbour Bay and other such communities. Caribbean Terrace is experiencing flooding, and I want to say that that is a community that I think we have to pay more attention to, because many years ago, when I was mayor, a section of Caribbean Terrace was devastated, and we are now seeing again, based on the information that is coming, and I'm going to ask the team to do some more checking to see the extent of what is taking place in Caribbean Terrace. We are experiencing, as I said before, land slippage in many communities in Portland, St. Thomas, St. Elizabeth, St. Thomas, and many other communities are experiencing those challenges as I speak at this time. This is the last briefing that we'll be able to give as update, but I will spend 2 minutes again. God has been merciful, because we've been talking about Melissa coming for almost a week. And still today, when we are expecting Melissa, there are still, as Evan have said, a small window of opportunity. Let us use it, and use it wisely. Let us respond. I hope by within the next hour, when I get an update, I will see more persons in shelters, and we will see more people responding. Jamaica, this is not the time to be brave. I've been saying for 1 week, don't bet against Melissa. It is a bet we can't win. I want to close because the reports is short, and we want persons to go to do what they can do for themselves, their families. And I want to thank all of you who have left your homes and have been spending time here, camping out, members of the media. Last night I walked and I interacted with them before I went to bed in my little corner. And, you know, it was commendable to see the media and other support staff leaving their families and things. And this is a commitment that we are making for the betterment of Jamaica. Already we have started, as I said from yesterday, to look at how we're going to map our recovery. We have to start to look at that. We can't wait until Melissa has come to start to say how we are going to prepare ourselves for the recovery. We have started to do that in the meetings that we have been having. But I want to thank the team, and I know that Jamaicans are grateful, and we are all praying for the best outcome. So as I said before, whatever windows are available, I am asking those, especially in St. Elizabeth and those areas, who can move to do so at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Mackenzie. I just wanted to note, given that we have a lot of our members of the diaspora on, you've been asking a lot about how you can support Jamaica. Just noting that I'm very, very pleased this morning to announce the launch of our Support Jamaica website. It is supportjamaica.gov.jm. We've already been made aware of some nefarious individuals trying to collect money on behalf of Jamaica. We remind you that this will be the official site. If it doesn't have .gov.jm, it is not legitimate. It's not an official government of Jamaica site. And so it will be supportjamaica.gov.jm, and it will be our online platform developed by the government of Jamaica to mobilize support, to channel relief and coordinate recovery efforts in the wake of Hurricane Melissa. In it, you're going to have a donate now page where you can donate using your credit or debit cards, and you will also be able to give pledges. You also have all the information on ODPEM's bank accounts. If you want to do a bank transfer, you can do so there. A new innovation on that site is that you will be able to give updates on emergencies. So if there's an issue that you see in your area, you want to upload a picture, maybe there is flooding, maybe there is a town that has been cut off, you can actually notify us through that website also. It also has an interactive shelter locator for those who may need it. Even if you have to help someone to find a shelter, please use it. It will give you all the shelters that are near you. You can actually put in what parish you're in or what area you're in, and you can geolocate. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Tony. All right. We had a quick power outage, but we are back up here. Just noting again that you can find shelters. They are on that site, supportjamaica.gov.jm. And so it is all about mobilizing resources. So it's a resource for those locally and also for those in the diaspora and anywhere in the world that wants to give support to Jamaica. Again, the website is supportjamaica.gov.jm, and it was created overnight, updated in basically a day. The developers spent a day working on it, and we want to thank them. And it was donated to us by Amber Group in consultation with other members of the team and other private sector partners. We are going to be opening up now for questions from the media. I know I already have one question that I need to treat with, which has to do with tourists. How many tourists are here on the island? The number I have from the Ministry of Tourism is 25,000. They issued a press release yesterday, and they noted that they are coordinating with all of the hotels. There's no need to worry. The Ministry of Tourism has its center that is in constant communication with all of the hotels, has been providing support, and so we are keeping those tourists as safe as we possibly can. And so I open up for questions. Zara, you're first.
Good morning, everybody. Zara Burton representing Reuters today. I would like to know, please, I realize that it is still early to talk about this, but I'm just curious if it is that, there could be any kind of comment about, search and rescue preparation. If there could be any kind of comment about if it is that you are in this hurricane and your shelter is compromised. is there any advice on, I don't know if ODPEM can give any advice on safe rooms to go to, just any practical advice to residents who may be in this hurricane and in very perilous situations during and post?
Thank you for that question, and we're going to get you an answer.
Let me say that the Jamaica Defence Force and the Jamaica Constabulary Force are members of the National Disaster Committee, and they sit in the command center during the operation. So any request that comes in for search and rescue will be undertaken by the Jamaica Defence Force along with the Jamaica Fire Brigade, because they are a part of the national response team and they are present, and we have equipments that are pre-positioned prior to the passage of Melissa that will be able to respond. So in a nutshell, yes, we are in a position to respond, and once the request comes in, the team will be ready to go. We have boats, helicopters, you name it. The government has equipped the Jamaica Defence Force, especially with a number of helicopters. The Jamaica Fire Brigade have a number of boats that can be used on land and can be used at sea for rescue operation and search operation.
Minister, I think there were some questions around tips, I think, between you and Mr. Thompson in terms of tips for persons. I know you're an expert in this area.
Yeah, thank you, Minister. Very difficult in terms of tips for Category 5, but nonetheless, I think one of the things that we have to do is to ensure that, as was said before, that we are doing most of the preparation going in. In terms of tips, we have always said that person should try as best as possible to bring a lot of stuff already outside, inside. We don't want a lot of stuff that you have loose stuff outside, especially, Minister spoke it about construction sites. A lot of those things can be used as missile in the system, so you try to bring a lot of those in as best as possible, try to secure your animals. If you're inside, you stay in between walls that are not close to your outer walls in terms of your structures, because if your structure is not sound enough, those will go. A little bit better, I think, for persons who have multi-story facility. If your roof goes, you can go on the lower part of your lower part of your building. Search and rescue component, the minister said it before. The teams are out there, but what we are saying in terms of tips as well, which was said before, and I will enforce it again, get into the shelters, because in terms of search and rescue, we can't do search and rescue in the heights of a system. Persons need to get away from the coastline, away from low-lying areas that are prone to flooding, and ensure that you are in safe, elevated areas to ensure that you are safe from all the dangers of coastal waters and riverine waters. And as best as possible, ensure that on the inside of your property, you are staying in between double walls. So if your outer wall goes, you're a little bit protected, and stay downstairs if you have a multi-story facility. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Thompson. Thank you, Minister Mackenzie. I think we're going to go to nationwide news now.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Mahiri Stewart, Nationwide News. Question for Minister Vaz. You oversee the energy, telecoms, and transport portfolio. Have you been receiving any reports of vandalism in any of those three sectors?
Thank God, nothing so far, and I hope it remains that way. Nothing so far.
All right, Television Jamaica.
Yes, Minister Vaz, Andrea Chisholm from TVJ. Quickly checking on the JUTC buses. I think you mentioned that the CNG plant has been decommissioned, so I'm thinking that 63 or 60 or so about of the 93 buses that came in operate on CNG. So do you have enough CNG in place to operate those buses for a while, or is it that they're totally out of use for now?
Yes. Prior to the hurricane and in preparation for the hurricane, one of the requirements was for additional storage to be on location in case deliveries are not able, because the deliveries are done by road. So we took that into consideration. So I'm hoping that the plant will be able to be recommissioned in short order, but there may be, depending on the level of damage, some disruption in terms of the full fleet, but we will have enough to do what we need to do.
Nationwide, once again, question to Evan Thompson. We know the effects that we're expecting in terms of the hurricane force winds and the tropical storm force winds on the outer side of Melissa, but in terms of the eye, because that's obviously going to pass through the country as well, what kind of conditions can persons expect during the eye of the hurricane? I know things are kind of calm now in certain areas. Are those persons within the eye supposed to expect similar conditions?
Thanks. That's a very good question, Mahiri. It's important for us to understand what happens when the eye is expected to move across your area. First of all, the eye itself is a calm area in the center of the storm. So as that moves over, it will appear as if it's all done. It will be a clearing. There will be very little cloud cover. There will be very little wind. And so it will feel as though the storm has passed. And it's a good feeling. And so a number of persons would want to take the opportunity to get some quick repairs done, especially since the eye extends a few miles actually in diameter. So, you know, it would take a little while to pass over you, and you could have some time of break. But before the eye gets to you, you would have passed through one of the most intense parts of this hurricane. It means that you will experience wind speeds that are approaching 300 kilometers per hour. This is round about 185 miles per hour. That's what the system is packing as a Category 5 hurricane. And much of that will be within the eye wall. In that eye wall, which is that area that surrounds the eye, you will have that most intense wind speeds, but also the most torrential downpours of rainfall. So that area will pass from the coast right across as the eye moves. Of course, that is the protective area for the eye that moves along with it, all the way from the southwest of Jamaica to the north central part of the island. So you will experience those intense conditions before the calm, and then after that calm, you experience it once again, unfortunately, and the winds will be from the opposite direction. So if it was coming to you from the east, it will now come to you from the west after the eye. If it was from the north, it will come from the south after the eye passes. It's always from the opposite direction after the eye passes, and you have to prepare yourself for that.
Morning. All right, so my question has to do with lightning strikes, because in one of the models that you showed us, I believe it was yesterday, we saw quite a few areas of thunderstorms. So I'm not certain what you can tell Jamaica now in terms of preparing or protecting ourselves from the possibility of being struck by lightning. And what do we look out for ahead of it? What are the signs?
Yes, lightning frequently occurs during the thunderstorms. Of course, it does occur during thunderstorms. And thunderstorms will be part of that intense area of the shower activity. We don't expect anyone to be outside, really. So that should, of course, protect you from the lightning strikes to a large extent. Of course, there will be some impact. It will affect electricity supply. It could also be the cause of fires. And so it's important that that is also monitored. I'm sure the fire brigade is alert to that, that there could be fires that are generated because of the lightning strike. So that is one of those hazards that actually accompanies hurricanes as well. We don't talk much about tornadoes either, but actually we do have small tornadoes that develop in hurricanes, and that is something that people need to also be aware of. Whenever hurricanes move over, generally you have those smaller scale cyclonic events that are tornadic, tornadoes develop within these systems, and that could also be a source of danger for residents as the system passes over. They don't last very long for our area, but they are a real possibility. Not just a possibility, they actually occur and have occurred in Jamaica in the past.
Possible for particular parishes more so than others, considering where this system is projected to travel?
I believe in most cases when you have those events, it would be in the lower lands, in the flatter lands, and not so much in the hilly terrain. However, we should be prepared. I mean, in the larger scale of things, we're dealing with a hurricane with huge winds, massive winds, but at the same time, you could have the resultant effect of additional with the smaller scale events taking place within it.
Thank you.
Another quick question to Mr. Mackenzie. You were clear, Mr. Thompson. Thank you. Very quickly, Minister, you mentioned that the JDF and JCF were responding to calls in the corporate area. Just trying to get some details on that. Is it that persons were now evacuating or any flooding or anything?
No, not anything major. Just assistance that was required of them, and they have responded as they would normally do. Because remember now, the command center carries every critical area of government that forms a part of our disaster response mechanism. So once the information is fed into the command center, we will go out to see what is required in terms of why a request was made. And that was why the team was out. And we have roving teams on the road that is driving around. So when they pick up anything on the road, they will act, and they will call in and give Central the information, and we will log those information, because we use the information after to see what took place and how best to address and to see how we can prevent. Yes.
And question from Nationwide: Have you been updated in terms of the readiness and the preparation for places such as prisons, children's homes, and homes for old persons?
Well, as I said before, the security forces sit on the National Committee. So everything security-wise, and we don't discuss the security aspects of the prisons and the operations of the police and the military, because that is confined. And you know why that has to be confined. The Ministry of Labour and Social Security, we work with all the ministries are involved. So children homes and the infirmaries and everything is taken care of in the general scheme of things and planning. And inspections are done to these facilities to ensure that they are up to standard.
Ask you one more question. Could you just comment on why it is that at first we were facing a multi-day event, and now you're saying by this evening it will go? Could you just at least address that little thing?
All right, we're going to have to, this has to be the last question, because we do have to get the teams who need to get home safely. And so this is the last question. And I think you had answered it, Evan, before, but come.
Yes, this event has been multiple days that we've been experiencing it. This passing of the passage of the eye across the island will not be a full day. However, the entire event, we've been experiencing this for over a week, and this is part of the system that has been impacting us. It has been for a few days already, and will continue for another few days, because after the eye passes, we will have another maybe 2 days before we actually see a clearing. All right? Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. So we are at the end of this press conference, just reminding everyone that if you want to support, we have international media that's streaming this live. If you want to support Jamaica, please go to supportjamaica.gov.jm. We're already receiving reports of flooding in St. Elizabeth. So all of you who are on the path that Evan has given us, please make sure you are getting to safety. It is becoming late to get to safety. The entire country is going to be affected. But as we said yesterday, we know we will get through this. Evan has said that this cloud and this wind and this rain will last for a couple days. But after that, we will rise again as a resilient Jamaican people. And so as we leave today, we continue to pray for this beautiful country, pray for those who are in the path of Hurricane Melissa, that God will guide them and God will keep them safe. Thank you all, and God bless Jamaica, land we love.